All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into an absolute classic story, but we're going to look at it as a completely brilliant tool for teaching kids about the true cost of a lie. We'll be exploring how this tale perfectly illustrates the way a single ridiculous boast can snowball into a literal life-or-death disaster. It's an incredibly compelling lesson about integrity and exactly what happens when we decide to sacrifice the truth.
I mean, you know the drill, right? Have you ever seen a kid tell a tiny fib just to look a bit cooler on the playground, and then suddenly they're making up 10 more things just to cover their tracks? It happens all the time. But in the tale we're unpacking today, we get a masterclass in showing them how a simple lack of integrity can lead to absolutely unimaginable consequences.
So, let's jump right into Section 1, The Catalyst, a rich hatmaker's big lie. Our story kicks off with this rich hatmaker. He's a guy who loved going to local dances and just making up wild stories to fit in with the wealthy crowd. Now usually this is just harmless bragging, right? Like people claiming their cat can fetch sticks like a dog, or maybe that their kid is so smart he's actually teaching his own teachers. It's just silly, ego-driven chatter. But our hatmaker really wants to impress, so he drops a colossal lie. He claims his daughter Sophie can turn hay into actual gold. He steps way over the line from a harmless boast to a totally impossible claim. And unfortunately for him, this specific lie catches the ear of the king.
Yeah, so the king summons Sophie to the palace, locks her in a room with a bundle of hay, and delivers this absolutely chilling ultimatum. He tells her to turn the hay into gold by morning, and then adds, "I hate liars. If you fail, I will feed your father to my crocodiles." Wait, crocodiles? We have instantly gone from a silly party boast to terrifying life-or-death stakes. The king demands the truth, and poor Sophie is the one trapped by her father's utter lack of integrity. It's a stark, scary lesson for kids. You really can't control who hears your lie, or how seriously they're going to take it.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, The Rising Cost of Deceit. Because, let's be real, the consequences of a lie rarely just stay put, do they? They escalate, and they escalate fast. Step 1. Sophie has to survive a small room of hay. But even after that room is magically spun into gold, the king's greed just takes over, completely fueled by that original lie. Step 2. The very next night, he demands 10 piles of hay. And by Step 3, she is locked in a massive room completely filled with 100 bundles of hay, stacked from the floor to the ceiling with 10 armed guards right outside the door. The lie just keeps demanding more and more impossible results every single morning.
Naturally, Sophie is panicking. She knows turning hay to gold is literally impossible. But just when she's at her absolute lowest, this mysterious helper appears in the corner. Enter the little man. Picture this, a strange, magical helper with brown curly hair, a black hat, red pointy shoes, and golden knitting needles. He offers to knit the hay into golden clothes for her. But, and this is a massive lesson about covering up deceit, he doesn't do it out of the goodness of his heart. There is always a hidden cost.
Check out how this ramps up. To survive that first small room of hay, Sophie pays the little man her diamond necklace. For the 10 piles, she gives up a ruby ring. But for those 100 bundles of hay, Sophie is completely out of jewelry. So the little man demands something just unthinkable, her first child. She has absolutely no other choice but to agree if she wants to save her dad from becoming crocodile food. Look at that jump. The cost went from simple jewelry right to a human life. That one original lie has effectively bankrupted her entire future.
Let's move on to Section 3, The Final Terrible Price.
Let's fast forward 10 whole years. Sophie is happily married, she's got a baby boy, and she's grown into a clever woman who probably thought she had finally outrun the consequences of her father's old deceit. But then she hears that weird little laugh out in her garden. The little man steps out from behind a bush, looks right at her and asks, "What do you have for me?" He's back to claim the baby, and this highlights such a profound lesson to share with kids. The people around the liar, in this case completely innocent Sophie and her baby, are almost always the ones who suffer the absolute most from a made-up story. So Sophie is screaming, she's crying, she's clutching her baby to her chest. And the little man, seeing this total desperation, offers her one agonizing tiny loophole. He gives her a number, 3. She has exactly 3 days to guess his true name. Guess it right, she keeps her son. Fail, and she loses him forever.
Just imagine the sheer frantic panic as the clock ticks down over those 3 days. On the first nights, she tries the obvious ones. Tim, Jack, Chris. Then she moves to the slightly weirder ones, Balthazar, Alfonso. By the third day, she has completely lost it. She's making wild, desperate guesses based solely on what the guy looks like. She's thinking, okay, his feet are pointed like a Norwegian. Maybe it's Bjorn. His nose is red like an Australian. Maybe it's Keith. His hat looks Turkish. Maybe it's Mustafa. She actually gets so desperate she starts guessing foods. Rhubarb, Roquefort. I mean, come on, Roquefort? But nothing works. She is entirely 100% out of options.
Okay, Section 4, a lucky forest discovery.
On that final, crucial third day, a completely panicked Sophie just flees deep into the forest, hoping to clear her head. She's walking deeper and deeper into the woods, jumping over logs, climbing over rocks, until she turns a corner and spots this small house. Out on the porch, a woman is knitting baby clothes and singing quietly. But here's the kicker. What really catches Sophie's eye is what the woman is wearing. Sophie's old diamond necklace and ruby ring.
Sophie instantly ducks down behind a bush to hide. Suddenly, the woman calls out for the little man to come to the door and give her a hand. And the name she shouts is the exact thing Sophie has been desperately searching for. Rumpelstiltskin! Yes! Sophie has finally, miraculously, discovered the truth.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the true price of lying.
When you're teaching this tale to kids, this right here is the ultimate turning point. It's a contrast. On one side, we've got the hat maker's thoughtless lie, this reckless, ego-driven deceit that kicked off the entire nightmare and almost cost multiple lives. But on the other side, we have Sophie's clever, earned truth. Notice she doesn't try to lie her way out of the deal with Rumpelstiltskin. She uses careful observation and the actual, undeniable truth to break the cycle once and for all. When he asks for her final guess, she looks him in the eye and delivers his true name.
And the reaction is instant. Upon hearing his name, Rumpelstiltskin turns bright red with anger, stomps his feet, starts crying, and just completely disappears, wiping his tears with a yellow handkerchief. The truth literally banishes the consequence of the lie, which brings us right back to our main overarching takeaway. Big lies always need a big payment. When you sacrifice your integrity, even for a fleeting moment of bragging at a party, the compounding interest rate on that deceit is always devastating.
So, I want to leave you with a provocative question to pose the next time you're having a chat with a child about honesty. Ask them this. When you hear people telling big lies, will you look closely to see who is waiting under the table to make a deal? Because remember, there is always a Rumpelstiltskin out there, just waiting in the wings to collect on the cost of deceit. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Stay curious, protect your integrity, and I'll catch you next time.